For more on the impact of the president's attacks on NATO today, I'm joined by MSNBC contributor Ben Rhodes, former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Obama, author of the new book, The World as It Is, and Nayyera, who's former senior advisor to State Department under President Obama. Ben, obviously Senator Menendez talks about it through the lens of sort of Putin's longstanding desire to sort of break up NATO, his fear of NATO, which he's been very clear about. You saw the Russian state TV clip. But it also strikes me there's some themes in the president's foreign policy. One is militarism. He wants everyone to spend more money on military. He's glad the U.S. government's spending more money on military. Two is antagonism towards democratic liberal allies. He doesn't like other democratic countries, likes to pick fights with them, mostly because they don't bow and scrape the way they say the Saudis do. And number three, that he likes authoritarian regimes. He likes to go to Saudi Arabia where there's no protests. He likes Kim Jong-un, who's doing a great job running his country, and he likes Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, what's very clear is that he has a continued hostility towards our democratic allies, and he's continually reaching out, praising, trying to get next to, trying to create these spectacles with people like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. I don't think it's possible to overstate what is happening this week. The biggest danger to the national security of the United States is the President of the United States, who is single-handedly, before our eyes, blowing up the international architecture that the United States has relied upon for our own security for 70 years. You know, this 2% defense spending thing is just a lever that he's using to clobber NATO. Let's be very clear. If you shred the credibility of America's commitment to our allies, it doesn't matter how much people spend on defense. The fact of the matter is, by antagonizing our allies, he's making it less likely that they're going to stand with us the next time we need them, as they did in Afghanistan after 9/11. He's playing right into the hands of Putin, who's been trying to create a wedge between the United States and Europe since he came back into office. And he's raising serious questions about whether the United States of America wants to play the role that we played for 70 years as the leader of alliances like NATO. This is a really big deal, Chris. Even among all the things that Trump does on a daily basis, this is literally reordering the world before our eyes.
You agree with that, Nayyera?
I do, and I actually think that he is delivering on a promise he made to a very select group of Americans who believe that engagement with the rest of the world has not benefited them. Unfortunately, he's been lying to people about what exactly the United States has gotten and what the United States has given in working with our allies. I mean, he's allied the United States now with not only authoritarian regimes, but regimes that have zero interest in investments, in expanding trade, in engaging with the United States in ways that are meaningful for working with Americans, and he's allied against the very people who stand to defend liberal democracy. I mean, he is a bull in a china shop, but at the expense of American peace and security. It should be the benefit of working with our allies in Europe is that we're able to work with them to keep challenges and resolve challenges there. At the end of the day, if we have no friends overseas other than Russia, we're going to be dealing with a lot more challenges here on the home front.
Nayyera just used bull in a china shop, Ben, and there's two ways to view this, right? One, this is fits of pique, that he's sort of emotionally incontinent. He can't control himself. He doesn't like Angela Merkel. He feels ripped off. This weird conception he has that, like, there's a pot in the middle at the end of, like, a shared vacation house, and, like, they didn't put enough money, and now he's stuck with a tab. But the other is that this is actually a program. And the program is, and this quote I think is interesting, in an extraordinary rift during his meeting with the G7 heads of state in Quebec, Trump told the other leaders NATO is as bad as NAFTA, that he wants to get out of NATO. He wants to destroy it the same way he wants to get out of it and destroy NAFTA.
Yeah, I believe that if you look at Trump's statements for years, there's a consistent thread here, right? Which is this hostility to our allies. I mean, look, Chris, it's not a coincidence. This man cannot find enough good things to say about Kim Jong-un. He said he is beloved by his people. That is playing in a loop right now in the North Korean gulag on North Korean state television. You know, he is solicitous of Vladimir Putin. That is playing in a loop on Russian state television. Meanwhile, he can't find enough bad things to say about Angela Merkel, about Justin Trudeau. The man clearly has a degree of hostility towards our democratic allies. It's deeply worrying. It makes you wonder, what exactly is it that is propelling him into the arms of Putin like this? On his way to a summit with the Russian president, he is trashing our European allies, upending their own politics. Their own publics are not going to want to work with the United States anymore. And he's going to conclude this magical mystery tour by standing next to the Russian president and probably paying him a lot more respect than he paid Angela Merkel, a woman who's done a tremendous amount on behalf of American interests and the values we share. So I think there's a consistent thread here that is deeply worrying. Either he is just solicitous of authoritarian dictators and hostile to our allies, or there's something going on with him and Putin that is leading him to have Vladimir Putin be the only person in the world that he seems to not be able to find an ill word to use against.
Yeah, Ben makes a point there, Nayyera, which is that it's inconceivable to imagine Trump talking about Russia or Putin in the way he talked about Angela Merkel today.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be throwing starburst at Putin anytime soon and making snarky comments about, don't say I haven't given you anything lately. So the disdain goes far beyond any potential strategy or policy, and it is extremely personal and emotional. But that's part of how Donald Trump works, right? I mean, this is part of his appeal to his base, is the emotion that he brings to the table, makes things relatable. He also tries to explain everything in very basic black and white terms, when actually the world is far more complex than he's willing to acknowledge, and relationships that we have with allies and even with some of our adversaries are also very complex and need to be approached that way. So he's trying to make things very simple to appeal to a domestic audience, and unfortunately going to be making things far more complicated for us in the long run.
I agree that this is partly politics, but I also think it's partly he really doesn't like NATO. I mean, I think he's genuinely pursuing a project which is the breakup of these old alliances. We'll see how far he gets. Ben Rhodes and Nayyera Huck, thank you both for joining me.
Thanks, Chris.
Ahead, new